This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the 40 Days for Life podcast. I'm Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life, and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion where you live. God bless the United States of America. Happy 4th of July, and may God rest his soul, Toby Keith be with us to celebrate. So joining me on this 4th of July podcast is Mr. 4th of July himself. You're basically like General George Washington when it comes to this day.
Yes, it's the greatest day of the year. Well, I guess Easter's better and Christmas is better, but after that,
I guess.
Jesus rose from the dead and saved us from sin.
it's on the podium.
It's on the podium. Oh man, you and I love the 4th of July.
With all my heart.
Which is interesting because we're from very different parts of the country. It's like we're unified as a nation. Heather is also here. Do you love the 4th of July?
I do.
Okay, good. Good. We need to build on that. That was kind of a soft answer. We're excited. Get excited.
I love it.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm wearing a Top Gun t-shirt. I'm
Hey,
pumped.
I'm wearing a patriotic
Yes,
t-shirt.
you're wearing a patriotic t-shirt. Exactly.
I'm wearing this because it's cold in Texas.
It's cold in Texas.
I'll one up you. I'm wearing patriotic earrings.
Oh,
Sean.
look at that. Red,
Oh, my
white, and
goodness.
blue earrings. And that
Right.
Red, White, and Blue has got to be the best 4th of July song. By Toby Keith.
Yeah, American Girls.
Courtesy
American
of the
Boys.
red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue.
Yeah.
Took a lot of flack for it. It
Yeah.
aged well,
Yes.
actually. It aged very
I loved
well.
the radio version. We'll put a boot in your eye.
The best was, my daddy served in the army. It was great. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
We lost him, unfortunately. So good old Toby Keith. Thank you for your patriotic life and for that great song. Do you have any 4th of July playlist options? By the way, we are going to cover something today, which is signs that America is back this 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
That's the topic. What's your playlist?
Martina is always on my list.
Yes,
Independence
love it.
Day.
Love it.
I
Just don't think about the words.
No, exactly. Don't think about
Yeah.
the words, but love belting out that chorus. It's
Yes.
fun. It's a good song.
We have beat up on the baby boomers on this podcast because, frankly, they deserve it. But one of the things we don't give them credit for is the amazing music and the cars
Yes.
that their generation produced. So thank you for that. I'm a big Creedence Clearwater Revival guy.
Ooh.
CCR, great.
Credence or Credence?
I don't know. CCR
It's
is who they are.
Credence.
Is it Credence?
It's Credence.
They're awesome.
I do love Credence Clearwater Revival.
And I like a little Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
On the 4th of July. I'm interested in your playlist because you had a garage band back in the day.
Yeah, baby. So there are many good answers, but there's one that rises to the top. I will make no apologies. The Ray Charles version of America the Beautiful.
Oh, no, of
Yes,
course.
okay,
I
you
thought it
went
was going to be like ridiculous.
You went
That's-
sentimental on me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna be like "Should Have Been a Cowboy" by
It's
Toby
amazing.
Keith. That's a good one. Yeah, that's really really good. I have on my list all Johnny Cash.
Okay.
When I hear Johnny Cash, I'm just like America.
In
Same with George Strait.
the same vein as your CCR, there's kind of like a whole genre of this. You can get a little Tom Petty in there.
Yeah.
American Girl. You
Yeah.
can get John Mellencamp.
Yeah, Jack and Diane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or remember, there was a song that was on all the NFL games. Always, this is our country.
yes. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think, and from my T-shirt, soundtracks are a big deal. So the entire Forrest Gump soundtrack, which is probably the best soundtrack in the history of
Yeah.
soundtracks. It's
Without a doubt.
hard to rival that. And I like the Dances with Wolves soundtrack and the Braveheart soundtrack and all that. But like the Top Gun and the Forrest Gump is definitely up there. Top Gun, if you can endure some of the cheesy 80s songs on there, it's really, really good. But Danger Zone,
Yeah.
100%
Oh, yeah.
we're playing that at my house on the 4th of July.
Yes.
I have this awesome deck in my backyard, and
We've heard about this,
Yeah.
actually.
During COVID, I got all depressed, and so I put up American flags and the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, and like the patriotic bunting on the outside, and some party lights, and I just I named it Club Freedom. So then a couple years.
You were the only member?
No, it's
Okay.
invitation
It's
only.
spread, okay.
It's family members automatically.
It's
were
spread
members.
throughout the world.
So we a couple years ago, I had a party which I titled Freedom Fest. And so then it was Club Freedom. Wait, is Freedom Fest sponsored by Club Freedom a celebration of freedom?
I
So it was a great party. We had like 110 people on the deck eating pulled pork and listening to the very songs that we're talking about.
Oh, that's great.
I would argue that the 4th of July playlist is the best playlist of the year.
And most important.
Well, I don't know. Now you're getting into Christmas, okay?
Right.
It was like Oh Holy Night. I mean, that's Celine Dion.
Right,
You're like
right,
throwing
right.
her out for Toby Keith.
Exactly.
But Christmas is so diverse, I think. It's just such a huge thing, and it lasts really long. I have in my phone, I finally figured out through having 4 teenagers how to actually make a playlist. It's like, how do you get a playlist? And they're
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I would just go and it's like Billy's 4th of July party, and I would just like download that. They're like,
Should've
Dad, you
learned
can
that in college.
we didn't have iPhones in college.
We were stealing
did
all
it.
our
I
music
did.
in
We were
college.
stealing, yeah, without Metallica. But now that I know how, I have a playlist just called Summer/Beach.
You didn't have an iPad, but you had iPods, which had playlists.
I didn't know
I mean,
how to use the iPod.
iPhones.
People had to put music onto my iPod,
Wow.
and I would like listen to it.
Those were antisocial anyway. Just put things in your ear.
Yeah,
These songs need to be listened to with the people.
group setting
Yeah.
with alcohol.
Which you would still create a playlist for.
That's true. So I have but really this guy, I don't even know. I'd have to look at my account, but like it's like Billy Bob's 4th of July bash, and it's like a perfect balance of like protein, carbs, and fat. It's just like redneck, we love America. Other countries are a bunch of wusses. That's a lot of Toby Keith. And
He's not wrong.
he's not wrong. He's a very smart man. God rest his soul. And then like old school country, and then the cool 70s stuff, and then you get the sentimental stuff.
There's
Like
also
Remember When is on there by Alan Jackson.
nobody wants to listen to that at the 4th of July.
I don't think so either, but I respect a beautiful song. It's like
Okay.
what we're all going to play at our 50th wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful celebration of marriage, by
True.
the way, as we close out Pride Month. And so I left it on there. But like when you're having a bunch of people in your backyard and you're shooting fireworks and grilling
Yeah,
briskets,
it's not a good one.
it's like, yeah.
There's also a really excellent genre of music which fits in from September 11th through like the first year of the Iraq War. Great patriotic music came out. Some pop music, a lot of country music.
Well, 9/11, I mean, had
Yeah.
a huge impact on music, obviously. What's the other Alan Jackson song?
Where were you when the world stopped
Stop
turning?
turning. Beautiful song.
Heart wrenching.
Well, he wrote that and then performed it live.
Live for the
Nobody
first
had ever
time.
heard it for
Yeah.
the first time. It was really at the CMA Awards, wasn't it? Really, really cool.
One of those awards, yeah.
So shout Alan Jackson as an American. I'll tell you that right now.
There's another one.
What?
Aaron Tippin, Stars and Stripes and
Yes.
Eagles Fly. That's a good one.
Yep. I don't know the name of it. It's on my playlist, but Ain't That America?
Brooks and Dunn.
No.
No. Only.
Oh,
That's
wait, no, that's
That's
Mellencamp.
only
Yeah,
that's
you're
John
right,
Mellencamp,
Mellencamp.
yeah.
Is that Ain't That America?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Pink Houses is the name of it.
Yeah, and the little pink houses. Yeah, man, you really know your music. But that's one of the many songs out there that used Gulf of Mexico because they go on vacation to the Gulf of Mexico, and it's like that's an inaccurate song. Gulf of America.
The song's going to be banned because it's
They
improperly.
vacation to the Gulf of Mexico. There's no such thing. It's been annihilated. It's now a real
Oh
Gulf.
my gosh.
The fishing is better.
Oh.
So yeah.
The ones that are about soldiers are always really like that brings tears.
An
to my
American
eyes.
Soldier by Toby Keith is a beautiful song.
American Soldier, Tim McGraw and John Michael Montgomery both have songs that are really like about letters from home, where a soldier's writing or something about where a soldier is fighting overseas. And
Yeah.
those are sad to listen
Those are really, yeah. Well, and that messes up like the pool party atmosphere. But
Yeah, you can't have those at the pool party.
yeah.
I mean, you could, but
The Only in America by Brooks and Dunn is a great
a good
song.
one, yeah.
And we love them because Obama played it and
Green
he
and
sued
red,
him.
white and blue. What?
Brooks and Dunn
Really?
did a cease and desist
I
because
did
he
not
was
know
using
that.
it as rallies.
Yeah, I knew that.
Really?
I didn't know he sued
I
him
didn't
though.
remember.
Well, he
I
didn't
didn't
sue
remember
him, but
either
he
of those.
sent the
He's-
cease and
okay.
he took legal
I
action.
didn't know that.
Sorry, yeah. And he's,
That was like the best time song ever because when
Surprising.
I was looking into it as we were preparing for this banter, very important. That song came out in June of 2001, and so that thing was just charting when September 11th happened.
yeah. It's amazing. I didn't realize that, the timing. Yeah. I guess you could just say all Brooks and Dunn. My gosh, they're fantastic.
Steers and Stripes was one of the titles of their albums. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. Aren't they the longest running duo in history?
Probably.
I don't know who would beat them, but I think that was like they've never broken up. It's amazing. Or did they break up and get back together?
I think that,
Okay.
yeah, I think they did for a little bit.
They came
Because
like
Kix Brooks.
they were at the pavilion like 10 minutes from my house a couple of like 2 years ago, and I was traveling because I would have absolutely. It was like $30.
Alan Jackson was near me recently, too. I found out about it like the day before. I was like,
Mary Lisa really likes Alan Jackson.
yeah.
He's retiring because of health issues, so you got to take that chance when you have it.
Yeah. No. Any other on your?
Shooter Jennings, 4th of July.
I don't know who that is. I like his name.
Waylon Jennings' son.
Is Shooter?
Yeah.
Is that like his nickname because he
On the
goes
4th
to
of
shop bars?
July. You haven't heard that one?
Sing it again.
Along to the stereo. Couldn't take no more. That you don't know that song? Oh, now we got to
Let me
play it
put
for you later.
Let me put it's Shooter or
I-
Scooter.
No, Shooter. I think that's Shooter Jennings. that
His son
sings
is
that.
named Scooter. I don't believe that's true, but it sounds like it.
Clean up your room, boy.
Wait a minute. I don't have to wait. I'm gonna look it up while we're on here. But I'm 99% sure it's Shooter Jennings. That's a good song.
This is a little
fun.
different topic.
It's a
but
pool party song.
Okay.
You know the song, was it Saturday in the Park by Chicago? You guys listen to Chicago around here? Yeah.
In the park. Yep.
I didn't.
think it was the
the
4th.
4th of July.
Okay.
Well,
Well, that's the other one.
Nice.
Is out in the country, rest the city.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Good
a
line
honky
dancing
tonk.
song.
And
Near
it's
the
hotter
outer
than the
line.
4th of July. I want a shot of that redhead yonder looking at me. Yeah, Brooks, done. You go. That's great.
Yep, it's Shooter Jennings, 4th of July. Came out in 2005. So how did
right.
you miss that?
I got married in 2004. I graduated.
Having babies,
I know. I graduated.
graduating college.
graduated
What excuses?
college. Mary Lisa was out 2 years before me, so
Yeah.
I remember this guy looking at me. He's like, "Dude, are you married?" You know, and I was like, "Yeah." And
You're like a child.
I was like, "My wife's pregnant." He's like, "Okay, you're just making that up." I'm like, "No." So
And then you show a picture of your wife. No, you're really
and
making
he was
that
like,
up.
"Did y'all get married because she got pregnant?" I go, "No, we were married a year before she got pregnant. This isn't like an out of wedlock shotgun wedding."
It's funny.
He was in disbelief.
Yeah.
Do you know the song New York, New York by
Yeah.
Ryan Adams?
Uh huh.
Not the Sinatra one,
Yeah, not the
Oh.
Sinatra one.
by Ryan Adams.
Brian Adams.
No, Ryan Adams.
Well, who's Ryan Adams? The out of work brother?
He's, I don't know what his status is. This is a famous song maybe 20 years ago. It's a good 4th of July song.
Can you sing it for us? Can you sing? But just enough to know what it is.
No.
I can't sing at all. You're a great singer.
I could sing.
You do. You sing. You sing it. You still sing at mass? Mm-hmm. Oh, good. Wonderful. Okay. Are we done with this?
Sure.
Did we hit it all?
I'll just say,
I think we touched some good points.
if it rains on the 4th of July, go on YouTube and just search rednecks with fireworks. It'll save your Independence Day.
Oh, no.
I think we've talked about this, but I'm a big firework person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who loves America also loves fireworks.
Yeah, and we have a great fireworks stand in our house, and we've I actually put notes. If I'll try one new one, and in my notes in my phone, I'll list the name of it to buy. So because like 6 months goes by between New Year's Eve and 4th of July, so I'm like, what did we get that was so awesome? And it's in the notes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, next year when we do this 4th of July
It's like having your
podcast,
AC filter size, like in your notes. It's like, I'm going to actually need this.
yeah. Note to self.
You just threw Steve off on his
No, I
thought
definitely-
You
train.
understand the value we give our listeners? We just pour ourselves
We've
out.
got AC unit advice, gutter advice,
Firework advice.
firework advice.
What to listen to on 4th of July.
It's a great day. In the neighborhood where my parents used to live, I'd love it. The 4th of July, they had these neighbors, and they're like these teenage kids, and they would spend their 4th of July all day until it was the fireworks time, sitting in a lawn chair. One of them would hold an American flag. The other one had a handmade sign that said "Honk for America," and they just sit there drinking Mountain Dews all day. You just hear cars beeping their horns all day long.
That's great. Do you barbecue? I guess everybody does.
Yeah, we usually have a big family party.
Okay. Is it like too big to where you can't do good food? Like we get these big gatherings at our house to where you can't do like brisket and ribs, right? 'Cause it costs like $1,000. So we do like hamburgers and hot dogs.
Pulled pork is your friend, my friend.
Yeah, we've done that. But Mary's like, it's just easier. We're just gonna do hot dog, and it is easier and it's smarter and
Unless
it's
people
cheaper.
bring their own meat.
Yeah, and so, but one year my brother-in-law and I did a secret, personal small brisket.
Ooh, a personal brisket.
Yeah,
I like
it
it.
was in the other grill.
That's funny.
Yeah, we did, and we ate it in secret.
Last thing I want to say before fireworks, before we get to the real stuff. Next year, I want to do a little quiz of you guys. I'm saying this so I'll remember for next year.
You got to put it in your phone next to the AC filters.
Yes. I want to do a test where I give you the name of something and you have to guess whether it is a firework or a type of wine.
Oh,
It would be harder than you think.
So like you mean like a fire,
It'd be
like black
blonde,
cats
like
are
blonde joke. Is blonde joke a wine or is it a
firecracker. Okay.
freak show?
How did you think of this? This is very clever.
I've been discussing this for years, Sean.
All right. Well, one of my one of the good fireworks that we got was Dad Gum.
Yeah.
That's not a wine.
Dadgum.
But
Bad
if I were to
gum.
say like
Dad Gum.
blonde joke or what's one I just said? Freak show. You would think freak show is a firework. No, that's the wine.
That's the
blonde
wine.
joke is a firework.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Well, but I still think
Thank
there's a lot. There's a lot like with Patriot Screamer or something. Like that's definitely a firework.
Some will be obvious,
Some
but
will be
some
obvious.
won't because you've got like the Chinese. I mean, are we still going to have fireworks with
say-
the tariffs? This could be dangerous. You better
They're
stock
gonna
up.
be $1 million.
Stock it up.
Right.
They're gonna cost a fortune.
It's too
We're not going to be
late.
able to celebrate our freedom
is
without the
too late.
Chinese.
I don't. Here's a serious note. I think is that fireworks are all like 5 to 8 years old. They're just sitting there, and then they sell them. So it's not like right now, or whatever.
But 2 years down
It's
the
not like a
road, we're
month
gonna
ago the firework
hurt.
people were ordering fireworks from China. I think that they're like they make a ton. They're all old, which is probably why they're really dangerous. They're
Yeah.
not old. It's
It
just like
adds to the excitement.
yeah.
If you knew it was
That's
gonna
what
turn out
makes the
fine, it wouldn't
redneck
be-
video.
But I think it's like a can of tuna. Like it lasts
Yeah.
for 10 years. So it's not like those should be impacted.
But that's where you get the fun part of every 4th of July, where you light the fuse like, shh.
And then nothing.
I don't know. Is it going to go?
Yeah, yeah.
Does anybody else have a problem with us spending a lot of money on explosives that are made by communists?
Lots of people do.
Like we could just not like it's made in China and you buy it. That's like a whole other debate. I'm saying like these are explosives that are basically like our enemy, but nobody will say it out loud.
But what are you going to do? Not blow stuff up on the 4th of July?
I know, but that's like, why isn't somebody in?
We don't have a choice.
There needs to be like some guy in Tennessee. That's
Leroy.
just like, yeah, I'm gonna make fireworks in America, and they're still somehow gonna be cheap. It's just like
Do it here. There's a million
do
roadside
it here, like
barbecue.
in our HQ.
No. In
Oh.
Texas, there's a million like roadside barbecue
Yeah.
stands, and you can't tell me they couldn't put up a little tent that has fireworks in it. Next
Actually,
to the
I think
barbecue
some
place.
of them actually are because we have. Is it Indiana? You can buy fireworks year round.
And Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin.
Really?
How that's shameful of Texas. How are we not in that category?
Why are they in that?
And
category
every
is
year-
what I want to know.
every year I
How do they
regret-
make money all year round?
Well, and so
Fireworks are awesome.
this happened to me because my daughter graduated from high school at the end of May. So we had in May, I told Mary Lisa, I said, I think that's the biggest party we've ever thrown. We had all of her class over, most of them, okay, to come to our house, and they had like a big party, okay? And we had a lot of parents there, and we know all the parents. It was super fun, really fun. And I told Mary Lisa at the end, I was like, I wish I could go to December Sean and be like, buy a bunch of fireworks for her graduation party. And she's like, oh, you should have done that, because we can shoot them off whenever we want in where we live. So I don't know. That's the thing, is that I don't stock up enough, and then something happens, and I'm telling myself this, so I go do it after we record this, so that I buy a bunch of fireworks, and then if something comes up, whatever, the Aggies win the national title, I have fireworks.
It's like we've got the strategic petroleum reserve in case we have an oil crisis. You will have your strategic firework reserve.
I'm not sure it's the same, but I like where you're going with it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I think we have turned the 4th of July podcast into our summer Thanksgiving podcast.
It is. It's the fried turkey podcast that comes here. I do want to say, and you'll appreciate this, I don't like mixing worlds with holidays. Like, you know how we know one of my relatives, like, she listens to Christmas music all year round, okay, because she likes it. She like, as a joke, put up
I support that.
a little tree in July and all that. I don't like that, and I'll throw my mom under the bus. I love Toby Keith. My mom plays Toby Keith on Christmas Day. and yet it does not come as a shock to you. I know that, right? But it's just like, the tree's up, the stockings are up. We'll put a boot in, so it just...
Red Solo Cup is a very
Red
Christmas
Solo
song.
Cup is very Christmas. Okay. All right. Here we go as we celebrate our independence. And next year, 250 years. We'll get to that later. What is working? America kind of lost its swagger. Morale was down post-COVID, the disastrous Biden years.
A malaise.
Our wonderful Walker Piercy phrase. Okay, so number one thing to show that America is back is the pro-life laws are working, and we didn't really know that a couple of years ago, and we know it now.
And they're working in spite of the claims of some people who are on our side, who insist that they are not working.
Like they don't want them to work.
I don't know.
But there are some pro-lifers that say we're worse off today than we were with Roe. And that is not only not accurate at all, it's depressing and it's misleading.
It's like we actually talked about this, and now Jordan Peterson is talking about it, the conservative version of woke, where nothing is ever pure enough, nothing is ever good enough.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, that's and I've mentioned this, is like, there's still some illegal pills coming into Texas and women are taking them. You think abortion's ended? And I'm like, I don't know. You have on here, this is another stat. So 76 abortions in 2024.
In the state of Texas.
In the state of Texas.
Legal abortions, so abortions that were actually reported.
That were reported. 76.
And those were, because we do have an exception in, despite what a lot of people think, we do have an exception in Texas's law where we have an exception for life of the mother. So these are cases that the physician deemed that, this gets a little bit trickier because the medical definition of abortion and the legal definition of abortion are different.
Right.
So these do include actual abortions, but they also include we've delivered the baby alive, but it's pre-20 weeks.
Yeah.
So, which we do not consider an abortion.
Right.
Because that's not going and directly killing the child.
The number is really skewed because, and I've heard basically of like 4 of the life of the mother situations. And of course we don't know because the doctor can just be like, yeah, I think she really needs one. And it's hit or miss. But 76 abortions in 2024, the year before Dobbs overturned Roe, 50,000.
Yeah.
Yet we're better off with Roe.
Well,
50,000 babies.
Okay, here's been my struggle with all of this because we have no idea how many abortion pills are actually coming into this state. We have no way of knowing. But we do have.
But we have laws that say we can find out and civilly sue that person.
How do we find out? How do we find out those laws, though? That's
Just the
I mean,
fact that there's ways you could have like undercover type of stuff. You could have a modern day David Daleiden or something like that, or
Who's
someone
doing
who's
that?
got regrets.
But
you could, and that's a deterrent.
and
it is a deterrent.
But yeah, so I reverse it because this is what Texas did so brilliantly before the stupid Supreme Court didn't allow us to do it. But to their credit, Texas Right to Life made it a civil issue. If you do an abortion, I can sue you. Anybody can sue you.
Right.
Civilly. So doctors don't do that. They're like, I don't want to get sued. And these pro-lifers are nuts. So I'm not going to do it. And I think that's a huge deterrent. But I don't understand what you said, which is what a lot of people say. We have no idea how many abortion pills are pouring into whatever state. And you're like, okay. Number one, I don't know why we say that. But number two, it could be 3 pills. Could be 3 million.
Yeah. No.
But like the assumption is that nothing's changed and there's 3 million pills being distributed like Skittles. And that is, I mean, Texas arrested that abortion doctor who did an illegal abortion. Was that like 6 months ago? A few months ago.
Houston?
In Houston.
No.
I mean,
The point that
abortionists aren't stupid. They're like, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to get fined.
But the abortion pills aren't coming from physicians. They're coming from these third party like Aid Access, PlanCpills.org. The point I'm making with we don't know how many is not to say, oh well, there's just more than ever. No, I'm saying truly we don't know because we don't have a way of measuring it. But also, let's just say that we did have a way. Let's say that we knew how many abortion pills were coming illegally in the mail in Texas. That does not automatically equate all of those abortion pills were taken. Because there's also this whole fear factor that the abortion industry has been putting for years since before Dobbs, which especially when heartbeat laws started actually becoming a possibility, where people were saying, it's about to be banned, so you better stock up like Tylenol. Yeah. So there's people that are in fear. I might die if I don't get an abortion, so I'm going to order 10 packs of abortion pills to have in my medicine cabinet, for the sake of whatever. So there could be, 3,000 abortion pills a day, coming into the state of Texas in the mail, and a certain, like 5% of those are actually being taken and successfully killing the baby. That's the point, though, is that we can't measure. I think what the skeptics are saying, where you're saying the woke conservatives, when they're saying it's not great because we're still having all these abortions, I think they're trying to say basically it's not, especially with pregnancy centers, it's not okay to say there's no abortions. We know there are abortions.
Right.
We also know it has to be deterring them. We also know if we don't believe any of that, look at the birth rates. Look at the birth rates from year to year. We can't possibly have all of a sudden had 40,000 more births just coincidentally in the state of Texas.
To me, that's the best way of knowing how many pills are coming in.
That's the best way of knowing.
Because if the birth rate doesn't go up,
yes,
I don't think people are just all of a sudden not getting pregnant.
Yes, but we do know from all of our amazing partners, with our groups that we work with, pregnancy centers, especially if you're involved locally with your organization, you can talk to a pregnancy center, and almost every single one of them will say we are regularly encountering women who come to our center who have either ordered pills and are just waiting for them to come in the mail, and they're coming to us to get a sonogram to see how far along they are, or they're showing up to our pregnancy center with the abortion pills in their purse. Like, I have these, you're not going to change my mind, however, which doesn't necessarily mean they won't. A lot of times they still do. But that's the reality, is that there's lots of illegal abortion pills coming in the mail, but none of us can have a claim on how many there are. And I also agree with you guys. Yes, these are still deterrents for people. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't have laws because it's going to happen anyway, because we may as well not have drinking and driving laws then.
Right. But the other thing, and this will get better as we get further away from Dobbs, is the stigma of Roe getting overturned.
Yes.
82% of women said they wouldn't have had an abortion if it were illegal.
Yes.
So the Supreme Court overturned it. People started rioting or whatever. But in the end, let's say you were a junior in high school when that happened, or a freshman. I mean, the older you get, just less likely, or you were an 8th grader, or you're a 5th grader, or a 2nd grader, and you grow up with Roe being overturned and your state's pro-life, I don't know. There's just going to be, the demand goes down. But just these immediate numbers, 12,000 less abortions in Florida in 2024. I mean, Texas went from 50,000 to 76 abortions. South Carolina, I was interested in South Carolina because that's like a pro-life state. They got the heartbeat bill. So how does the heartbeat bill do with that an all-out ban?
It's been back and forth on the courts.
It has. So even with the back and forth, we have heartbeat, we don't have heartbeat, a 36% drop in abortion numbers. What can your drop be and you still survive?
Here's a question I have philosophically for you, and that is for both of you as Texans. We know that the abortion industry flocked to the New Mexico-Texas border after Roe was overturned. We'll just lure them all to New Mexico, and all these abortion facilities open just across the border. And so there's women traveling, and that's a tragedy, and I don't want to minimize that tragedy.
Right.
Isn't there still a little bit of pride, like at least it's not going on in our state?
Yes.
Yes, in the sense, yes, but it's also not, I mean, we're an international pro-life group, so, you know, it's not like I'm like, I don't care if people in Mexico have abortions. I mean, we do, and we try to do as much as we can. But it's the whole notion that you have to drive out there and do it is way overhyped. Like, that distance is a true deterrent, okay? What I don't like is people in Texas going, well, they're all driving to New Mexico. It doesn't do any good to close an abortion facility in Austin. It's like, how stupid are you? You've been to Las Cruces.
Yeah.
But Mary Lisa's family is all from Plainview. We've driven out there 1,000,000 times. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's like going to Mars. Driving through West Texas, flying out there, which once you get a plane involved, it's a bigger deterrent. It's so hard to get to. It'd be totally different if there was a massive Planned Parenthood like right on the Oklahoma state line of Texas, because you'd have the whole Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Nobody lives out there. The biggest town is Lubbock. I think Lubbock's like 98,000 people. So the market-driven, when you have Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, massive abortion facilities that either close or dramatically drop in business, you're not going to make that out by going, hey, by the way, you can go to New Mexico. Texans don't see New Mexico as close because most of the population does not live
on the
out
east
there.
side.
Yeah. So I think that's, when you say as a Texan, like the view of it, to circle back to your question, we did what we could
That's
control.
where I'm going with that. It's like you can have the pride of knowing, like, look, this is tragic, and it's no less tragic because it happened in another state, but we did our part.
Yes, and we're not Ohio. You know, and that whole thing of just where you have a great pro-life, wonderful state like Ohio, and they just lost, and it stinks, and they have abortion in their constitution. You know, that's, I think, what people would fear. And I think South Carolina doesn't want that. I think North Carolina doesn't want that. Tennessee doesn't want that. You know, but Texas has a huge population. It's the 10th largest economy in the world, and we're essentially abortion-free. And that's remarkable because that means the garbage that we've listened to the last 50 years, which is to be civilized and to live in the West, one must have abortion on demand. That's BS.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Nobody died, and we ended it. And so, of course, there's still 76, and we have the pill problem. But essentially, this is a completely, for a state that has a huge population, a booming economy, this isn't like some, you know, I don't want to insult some other state, but like this isn't like Wyoming that has like 600,000 people living in it, you know? So I'm very encouraged by it. I think it shows it can be done. We have great pro-life groups here. We also, Greg Abbott has been, I don't know how he wouldn't be considered the greatest governor in the history of our state. He had a little hiccup during COVID, which he fixed. But in Texas, we were mad at him at COVID because Texas didn't open until May 1st. You know, it's just like, okay, we had 6 weeks of COVID. But it really, we've had great politicians who have not given in. And that's just remarkable for a state as Texas is the most diverse state in the union. Most people don't realize that.
It seems to be less controversial here than it was even before Roe was overturned. Like, was
Big
it
time.
when Wendy Davis, was that her name?
Yeah.
The pink shoe lady?
The red shoes,
And-
pink shoes.
Pink shoes.
And it just seemed, and the House bill and the
Yep.
chanting Hail Satan in the Capitol, all
Yep.
those things seemed like it was much more controversial. Now it's gone, and I'm not going to say you obviously need to remain vigilant in this state, but it doesn't seem like the world has ended.
No, I mean,
Or in Florida, or in any of these other pro-life states.
yeah, and I think we see that. It's certainly at 40 Days for Life. That's people are like, great, you live in an abortion-free state. It's funny, when I started traveling after the fall of Roe, people would, like, awesome longtime pro-lifers would be like, what is it like, just like waking up and knowing there's no abortions going on, certainly at the rate that it was. It was great. And that would be my response if I lived in, Ohio or California. But the response of, like, Texas is the same as California and nothing's changed, I'm just like, I don't think you understand. I can understand people not knowing how to win.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't get is people not being interested in winning,
Yeah.
especially on a culture battle, like where we're, really had it handed to us the last 30 years. Okay, so what about the states without pro-life laws? There's hope.
Well, just last November, Missouri tragically enacted a constitutional amendment to guarantee a right to abortion. And now there's a movement to repeal that already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but it's not set in stone.
Yeah. Abortion funding dropped by $8.5 million in Washington state. Why is that?
I don't know.
That's on the don't know list. Like, we think we know a lot. We don't know jack, because I can't explain that to somebody.
And I could get into like reasons, be like, well, due to these budgetary constraints, it doesn't matter. Tell me a pro-abortion place like Washington State that has ever thought, you know what, fiscal responsibility comes before abortion. Can't do it.
Yeah, right.
My uneducated theory would be that Biden making abortion a government sacrament in post-Dobbs America made everybody think. This happens a lot with Democrats when they win the presidency. Their fundraising, like, drops. Like their charitable giving, and so, because they're like, well, the government's going to take care of everybody. We don't need to give.
Yeah.
So they may be like, we're not giving money to Planned Parenthood anymore because Biden's going to take care of them. Thank God we have an abortion state, but the government will fund it. The government will do everything. That would be my guess, like fat and happy.
As we covered on the podcast a few weeks ago, Planned Parenthood lost 73,000 donors, individual donors last year, and their charitable giving went down by 35%. So
That's not sustainable. That's a big problem. And how stupid do you have to be to not be able to raise money in post-Roe America if you're Planned Parenthood? And it's because, which we've talked about, number one, they don't have a good CEO. That's the big problem. But they want women to die from lack of abortion so they can parade their corpses around and say, this is what happens when you have Donald Trump. But that didn't happen. And we've said it before, and I've said it in like some of my talks since 2022, and all this happened. Outlaw cardiovascular surgery today. People are dying tonight. Like, that's happening. Outlaw chemo. People are dying soon, if not today. Outlaw hip replacement surgery. Certain people aren't going to ever walk again. Like, medicine is required. But if you just outlaw abortion in a place like Texas, where are the corpses laying all over the street like we were told was going to happen? And it's odd, number one, to sort of root for women to die. Mm-hmm. But when the abortionists say women actually aren't going to die, it's an elective surgery. That kind of ruins your cause. But I don't understand the fact that they lost 76,000 individual donors. 73,000.
Which followed a significant drop from the year before. So it's not just a one-off. It's a trend.
That has to go up this year with Trump, because even Alexis McGill Johnson should be able to raise money off of Trump being Satan.
Yeah.
And which is what Cecile did so well before she left. was she had all the Delighted stuff in 2015. Their funding dropped big time. Trump got elected. She raised, I think it was like a record $86 million in 1 year, you know? So that's crazy. It was an increase by 86 million. So, you know, the whole thing is like, it has to go up this year.
Well, I'm curious too. Probably some of the drop is maybe people thinking, I've got this much money to donate to abortion. I'll give it to Biden or I'll give it to Harris. I've got to look at the dates because Planned Parenthood, their annual reports, it's usually like 21, 22, 22, 23. And they're splitting stuff. And this is the fiscal year and this is the calendar year. So I don't remember exactly the period that this donor drop was, if it was summer to summer or January to December. But in any case, if there was money, even if some of this money just went to the presidential campaign and it'll go back to Planned Parenthood this year, all of those dollars were set on fire with nothing to show for it.
Here's another thing, is this is probably a backdoor plus for the pro-life movement running around saying they get $750 million of our tax dollars. They don't advertise that. Planned Parenthood doesn't. That's a pro-life thing. And they also don't come out and say, no, we don't, because they do. So if we announced on the podcast that Trump and the government gave 40 Days for Life $700 million, I think we would lose donors. Because it's just like they don't need it. He didn't do that, and we do need it. So please continue to give at 40daysforlife.com/donate. You don't ask for money on the podcast. You need to ask for money. You're babbling on about Top Gun. You need to talk about money. You need donations. So I do think that's part of it, is that their donors are highly Democrat, big government people, and the government should give Planned Parenthood $800 million. I don't need to give them 50. I think that's part of it. I mean, that's just the deal. If people don't think you need the money, they're not going to give it.
And it's hard to get motivated to give when they're closing facilities left and right. Their employees are going on strike and they're unionizing and rampant reports of dysfunction, even from the New York Times.
New York Times, is actually admitting it.
How has Alexis McGill Johnson hung on this long after that New York Times report?
That's a good question.
She's a DEI hire.
Maybe by the posting of this recording, that won't be the case anymore. We'll see.
The closures have been, which we've celebrated a lot on the podcast,
Definitely hopeful.
flagship Planned Parenthood on Margaret Sanger Avenue in Manhattan. That one closed.
Woo!
We've seen Planned Parenthoods in suburban and upstate New York close. The great state of Michigan has closed four in Michigan, Illinois, and Vermont. That wasn't Burlington, was it?
No, it was St. Johnsbury. One campaign. They did their first 40 Days for Life campaign this spring, and the closure was announced before day 40.
One and done. I think we've had 4 of those over the history of 40 Days
Wow.
for Life. One and dones. Okay. All the other campaign leaders hate those people.
Oh, yeah.
You did one campaign and they close? Forget you.
Easy.
I've been out here 10 years.
Yeah, the easy way out.
We just had a closure. Speaking of the New York ones, I think this came even since we drew up this outline, but the Goshen Planned Parenthood, they've been at it for 15 years.
Yeah. I went there a long time. I think that was 2013.
That was where?
Goshen.
Goshen.
Goshen. Where's Goshen?
New York. It's
From
In
the
New York.
Bible.
outside of New York City.
I went biblical.
Don't know where it's from, where it is in the state.
Our
though.
wonderful Protestant
Country.
listeners know what Goshen is because they read the scriptures. Unlike Heather. Oh, John the Baptist is now preaching. If you could maybe not talk, thank you. All right. Pro-abortion zealotry is fading.
And this goes to what you're talking about
Fading
with the
fast.
donations going down. That's,
Totally.
I think a lot of it.
But also, like, we can throw in here, for sure, the election. Kamala should have won. I mean, if Donald Trump banned child cancer care, like if he's like, no child is gonna get cancer care, they're all gonna die, that he's not getting elected. I mean, like his own are like, that's kind of weird. So this is their thing, is that this is a life-saving, women will die, absolutely thing.
Yeah.
He gets the credit, as he should, for overturning it. And it's not close. She runs on abortion. She celebrates abortion. She talks about how evil Trump is for banning, Roe v. Wade. She runs a pro-abortion campaign. She does abortions at the DNC. This was the year to win. First female president. This is what happens when you outlaw women's rights. Women fight back, which is what they were all saying when Roe was overturned. We're not done. You're going to hear from women, Mr. Trump. Well, he didn't hear from him. A lot of them voted for him, actually.
I was like, he is hearing from them.
He's hearing
Actually,
from them. They're patting him on the back.
From a
So
few.
that's just, that has faded away. I think that there is a practical thing here, which is, remember when we had Surge in the 90s? And it was
I long for those days every day.
glorious, right? And Surge went away, and
Tragically.
we became adults, and we realized we don't really need Surge
We didn't know how good we had it.
to live, and that life went on without Surge. And this is abortion for most people. It actually didn't impact their life.
Right.
They supported it. It was awesome. Trump's evil. And it just kind of went away. It reminds me of the great Seinfeld where Elaine sees the lady in the fur coat, and Jerry's like, are you going to say anything? Because she's a big anti-fur activist and all that back in the day. And she goes, anti-fur? Who has the strength anymore? And there's a lot of that. Like the pro-abortion momentum, nobody's even talking about it, honestly. And you've got tariffs and you've got other things going on. So it's just, did you, I sent you the article on, I think, was it the Washington Post, saying that the pro-abortion political position is dead.
Yeah. 3 years after Dobbs leak, abortion no longer dominates politics.
That's it. Yeah. Great article.
It
And
was
it's
a
from
great
the
article.
Post. I mean,
And-
that's crazy.
That was this spring too. So that shows that it's enduring. It's not just like we get a lot of data points from the November election, but this is beyond that. It has continued to fade. They made the whole election, the whole campaign about abortion. This is one of my favorite stats about the November election. If you were to say
is insane.
among pro-abortion voters, if you're in favor of legal abortion, how's that break down? Like 80-20 Harris, 95-5. I'd probably be like 93-7.
I'd be like 88-12.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And Harris won pro-abortion voters by 4%.
So
4%.
this
So
is,
it wasn't that winning of a topic like she thought, or a cause.
it also shows when you look at those polls, and this as a Texan is kind of shocking to me. I'm happy about it because we've always kind of felt alone. Immigration was a huge issue, and people who didn't care about it cared about it. And Biden's butchering of the border situation and was a mess. And Trump really ran on that. He ran on it in 2016, but he made it an issue, and more people were paying attention than the Democrats thought. But in
Prior to that was like, let's reform Social Security.
Yeah.
Like you talk about it, but nobody.
healthcare, no. Maybe the only good thing about Obamacare is it sort of killed the healthcare debate. It just wasn't as heated in 16 and 2020 and 2024. But the immigration thing was if you have pro-abortion people voting for Trump, they probably don't like Trump, right? But they're like, he's going to fix some of this stuff. Or the economy. It could be those other things. It's always the economy is number one. But it just surprised me as a Texan how much immigration was a big issue, and the notion that like we're not lynching people on the border, we're not shooting them as they come over, like the whole humanitarian thing, like the process is just now we're enforcing laws that we had on the books. But to me, going down that road, the Democrats didn't learn anything. You have that goofball senator going down and visiting the criminal who Trump deported. Like, talk about not reading the room. You're like, Kamala got 4% of the pro-abortion people. These other issues mattered to Democrats, and y'all just ignored them, and now you haven't learned your lessons. So, okay.
Some
Go
of
ahead.
that zealousy is, how would I say that?
Zealotry.
Zealotry.
Thank you.
Which you're full of, Heather.
Yeah,
A
I
lot of zealotry.
I really am.
Yes. Down.
I do wonder how much of the abortion on demand without apology, fringe activists that became less and less fringe and more central to the movement. I wonder how much of that really woke up a lot of the pro-abortion donors, because I think about things like the women standing at the Supreme Court with the abortion pills, supposedly, in their hands, like we're taking it in the camera in front of the world to see, screw you pro-lifers, essentially was that message. And that doesn't sit well with most people, even if you're okay with abortion, because as we know, a lot of people, the majority of people who are okay with abortion in this country and society have their limitations. They're not okay with it throughout all 9 months, no matter what, for any reason whatsoever. Everybody has their own line somehow that they draw, at least if they get questioned or challenged on that. And they don't see that as being a big victory for women. Oh, they're standing in front of the Supreme Court with all their abortion pills, taking them. Like that. I would imagine that had to turn off a good amount of donors as well.
Well, and when do you believe we should limit abortion?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
That's just not most pro-abortion people.
Yeah.
It's really not. Which is why I guess they allowed the other issues. Do you know how much Biden won that group by? That's interesting.
I do not know.
Stump Steve. Yeah, it's weird.
We covered this, so we can probably move fairly quickly on this, but every week it seems we're getting more reports of dysfunction at Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
Planned Parenthood employees unanimously voted to strike at 6 California locations. Seems like a big deal. I've never heard of an abortion worker strike, but we're here. And this is something that recently came out from Nebraska Public Media, so like public television, public radio, but combined to public media. Nebraska Planned Parenthood employees are leaving, and the number of abortions in the state has plummeted due to understaffing.
Oh.
A former Planned Parenthood employee said, Planned Parenthood is kind of creating its own ban.
Oh.
These pro-lifers when we can't even
Yeah, buddy.
ourselves.
I love that. Its
great.
own band.
That's great.
That's great. It's ridiculous. But the Planned Parenthood employees in California, that's hilarious, the strike. Are they going to protest outside, like with us?
That'd be cool.
Awesome.
We're not sure if they've. I mean, well,
But if there's 6 locations, surely one of them's like, let's go out and show them. We'll join 40 Days for Life.
And they may. Who knows what by the time this actually is posted, what the status will be of that, because they still have to give
10-day notice.
It's that 10-day notice, and then. I don't know if they would have done that. That'd be interesting.
Join the striking Starbucks workers who are mad that they have to wear a uniform.
It's not my truth, man. You're really crushing my spirit.
So Planned Parenthood collapsing is the 4th reason that America is way back on this 4th of July holiday. Number 5. We have me. We have the universe because we have an American Pope. It's going to be fantastic. Pretty big deal.
Who would have ever thought, when we were looking at like the short list, I didn't even read this guy's bio. I'm like, they'll never pick an American.
I did. He was on my list, and he was on a few other lists that I saw. But
I saw him. I just on to the next one.
Not gonna happen because he's an American. And it was great. It was awesome. Leo the 14th. I told my kids the day before, I said, I hope the next Pope uses Leo the 14th, because Leo the 13th, as we know, is a total stud and wrote the St. Michael prayer and was a big evil guy. Big spiritual warfare guy.
Big guy on evil, not
big guy on evil. Not a big evil guy. No, a big guy on evil. He was all about the spiritual warfare. And a big not today Satan guy. There we go. Not today Satan.
I like it.
T-shirt.
I'm also going to say this. If you were going to tell me we would have an American Pope, and I was going to make a sitcom or a funny movie about it, the American Pope having a big brother named Lou who lives in Florida and runs his mouth all the time, like you can't make this stuff up. It's like a Seinfeld episode.
It's hysterical. And then the other brother was talking about like why they root for the White Sox and not the Cubs, and the Cubs suck. Yeah,
America is back.
America is back. And then you've got to love the meme of like the Buckies going to St. Peter's Square now that there's an American Pope. So, and a more traditional Pope. We won't go do a deep dive on that. Well, we upgraded. Number 6, the LGBTQ movement is retreating, and we talked about that on 2 weeks ago. So the Pride Month podcast.
Check it out.
Our federal government is no longer exporting abortion around the world or persecuting pro-lifers at home. This to me is talking point number one. I understand people who don't like Trump or whatever. But the pro-lifers who are like, I hate Trump, there's got to be some credit given here. Like, so it was better. This is where some leaders got criticized for saying they weren't going to vote for Trump. And everybody was like, so you want pro-lifers to get arrested and have their homes raided? Like, what? He's that bad that we don't want that? You know, so I definitely think with the Mexico City policy, defunding Planned Parenthood International, the pro-life pardons, he's done what he said he was going to do, and a lot of people didn't believe him because he botched the IVF issue and made it an issue, and he shouldn't have. He took the bait. That was not a political issue. The whole world's for IVF, except 8% of Catholics. It's not a political issue. The Democrats tossed it out there. Like, he's against IVF and all that. But if you remove all that, everything has been great. He's picked up where he left off.
Sometimes my friends will ask, like, hey, so Steve, you're doing pro-life every day. How is your life different since Trump took office? And I can give them a lot of great answers about the different things that Trump has done, but how it's affected me most directly is I'm not like sitting there pumping gas and I get a phone call from a leader who's like, you know what? I got the FBI on the other line. What should I tell them?
Right. And that was real for us.
Yes, it was happening all the time.
Not to mention, like, me telling Mary Lisa, don't worry, we're not going to be raided.
Yeah. I'm at my kid's band concert, and I'm like stepping out, like, hang on, are you guys going to play America the Beautiful or what? Because I got to find out if this leader is on the phone with the FBI.
One of my buddies at the FBI, number one, he said, I'm not getting raided because I know the Houston guys. And he's
that's nice.
Local jurisdiction does matter. He's like, you're on our good list. So so that was kind of, then he followed it with, but if they do, I'll let you know and I'll come to the house. And I'll be in there with you. So I was like, okay.
That's helpful.
We'll take it. But my teenagers were like, Dad, what do we do if we get raided by the FBI? I'm like, record everything and turn your phone off. All that's gone. I mean, that was a real problem. So, okay. Federal government no longer denying funding to pro-life states. With the Institute of Law and Justice, the ILJ, we have, federal law enforcement no longer harassing our local leaders.
Or at least it's severely decreasing.
Severely decreasing.
There's still some of that going on.
Some DOJ issues that we got. Yeah. It's 115,000 people. Yeah, and we talked about Kamala, just really bad candidate. I just think that not only did she run on abortion, but just not a good candidate. Okay. The future is faithful.
There's a while. Have you guys ever heard this phrase, demography is destiny? Mm-hmm. It's this idea that America was going to have a permanent liberal majority because young people are liberal. And there's only more young people every day. There's more young people. Despite the best efforts of Planned Parenthood, there's more young people every day. And also racial demography. Well, we've got an increasingly diverse population, so more Latinos, more Black Americans, more people from other parts of the world. That will lead to a permanent liberal majority. And oops, it didn't really work out that way. We saw millennials shift dramatically more conservative. Gen Z,
unbelievable.
Dramatic shift and dramatic conservative shifts among racial minorities.
Yeah. Well, I think Biden started that when I think it was 2020 when he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
You ain't black.
That was like the planting of the seed. I think a lot of Black Americans were like, okay, he's an old guy. I'll still vote for him. But as everything ramped up and they realized our lives were way better under Trump. The craziest thing is 40% of women 30 and under voted for Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. There is not a soul on earth on October 20th that said that was going to happen. They said they're going to do well. We're going to do better than most. I think we're going to do nice, But nobody really thought that. And 40% of women 30 and under.
Amazing.
It's crazy. Which means I'm sure behind the scenes they're like, good night, people hated Harris. Like just a turnoff, Okay. I do think there's a religious revival in the United States. We've definitely seen that.
Yep.
I brought back God. He can thank me. He's very happy with me, and he should be, frankly.
It's way too accurate in so many ways.
Any other comments?
Happy 4th of July.
Happy
everyone.
4th of July. America is back. God bless you, Toby Keith. And please rate, review, and share this podcast. Give us your playlist, actually. Put it on the YouTube page. That's kind of fun. Hey, attach a music video if you want to Google that. Attach a little music video. Am I not allowed to say that?
No. If you had anything awesome or terrible happen with fireworks and have video of it.
Yeah, we should have talked about that. Best or worst fireworks stories. I have one that kind of I remember.
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made, and the comment afterwards were, "How in the world did he not spill his beer?" That's how the story ended from my great brother-in-law. So yes, please share your fireworks stories. Share your that's a whole podcast that I could. Give us your playlist for the 4th of July, and we will just put it on the YouTube page or email us at podcast@40daysforlife.com. I feel like we're missing a big song. I don't know why. I feel like there's some big patriotic song that we forgot about. So anyways, put that on there, and we will see you next time. God bless you.